We have seen the destruction from the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii for months now.
It's just a land of extreme everything.
Here's how bad things could get if we ever saw a 7.5 quake along that fault in our lifetime. The biggest impact would...
Blocks the size of Volkswagens and small vans being heaved, 500 meters to 700 meters above the vent.
Along the knife-edge horizon of southwestern Colorado, the San Juan Mountains stand, aloof, ragged, their peaks knotted like the backs of ancient sleeping animals. Here, forested slopes split open into deep canyons. Snow persists deep into the summer months, gleaming against stone beds that recall both the bounty and violence of geological memory. The towns below, Silverton, Ouray, Durango, cling to valleys shaped by ice and shapers of deep time. And everywhere, the rivers run restless, their courses braided and rebraided by the slow choreography of stone, water, and time. For centuries, the San Juans have been treated as fixtures, cold, implacable, ancient, stories inscribed in silent granite and in the rare language of avalanches. But now, in June 2025, quiet signs, barely perceptible at first, have begun to ripple through the scientific establishment and the communities that call these peaks home. Something subtle is changing underground. Instruments, ever vigilant, began to register shifts that resist easy explanation. The pulse of the Earth seems faintly quicker. The temperatures of once chill narrow tunnels are infinitesimally warmer. Rumors swept through mountain towns more quickly than the gathering data. Small changes, perhaps, but experts warn it is these subtleties, rather than any spectacle, that can augur the next chapters of the Earth's story. The evidence only deepens the sense of mystery. On June 15th, researchers at the University of Colorado at Boulder announced the detection of an airborne toxin never before observed in the United States, emerging within these very mountains. Mere days earlier, underground sensors registered a curious interplay of gas releases and shifting subterranean pressures beneath the Colorado Riverbed, a discovery that may alter our understanding of the region's geological metabolism. By themselves, each signal might not have sounded any grand alarm. Together, they encircle the San Juans in an atmosphere of quiet, collective suspense. Is the land beneath, long taken for settled, now stirring once again? And what might it mean if Colorado's silent core is less tranquil than we believed? Beneath the surface, the restless heart of the San Juans. To understand the meaning hidden within these mounting signals, we must descend, both metaphorically and literally, below the high passes and timberline, beneath the wildflowers and scree, into the places where the continent's skeleton shifts and sighs far beyond human sight. The San Juan Mountains are no mere backdrop. They are forged from cataclysm, layered by eruption after eruption, and shattered by great collapses eons ago. There was a time, almost incomprehensibly distant, when this region roared with volcanic fire, darkening the skies and casting ash across the landscape that would one day become the American West. What remains, steep summits, calderas, isolated minerals and rivers, is the complex aftermath of cycles of destruction and renewal. Between layers of tuff and andesite, locked beneath the mountain's calm, a network of fractures laces downward, old wounds now hidden arteries for water, gases, and the slow exhalations of subterranean energy. In the early weeks of June, scientific teams fanned out across this rugged landscape, some with portable spectrometers, some with seismic recorders. They found readings that didn't quite fit historic predictions. Micro-earthquakes fluttering along supposedly dormant faults, pockets of heat where cold had always been expected, and, most haunting, a veil of airborne particles, tiny, unfamiliar, and as yet unnamed. Each new batch of data shifted the puzzle's contours. The airborne toxin, cataloged first on June 15th, bore chemical fingerprints more reminiscent of volcanic or geothermal origins than anything typical for the region. the scientists sketch plumes of gas that seem to trace fault lines and old volcanic conduits, suggesting a possible new breach between the deep and the surface. What sequence of events had awakened these ancient flows? Was it simply a new episode in the region's slow hydrothermal cycling? Or was something more fundamental changing beneath the feet of Coloradans? Some longtime residents recall legendary tales of mines whose air grew foul, valleys where trees curled and withered, wildlife fleeing as if the mountain itself had shifted its mood. Every new reading, each temperature anomaly, seemed to echo with those old warnings that the earth beneath Colorado lies not blankly inert, but always capable of surprise. Seismic maps re-rendered to reveal a subtle pulse running the length of river valleys. No shaking at the surface, but a persistent, rhythmic signal below, as if something ancient were stirring. In these places, the usual geological rules begin to blur, and a new kind of attention becomes necessary. Are the old mountains preparing to signal again, whether in whispers of gas or the slow rhythm of pressure? Or have we simply become newly attuned to the region's subtle, ongoing dialogue between deep history and the present? Gaseous omens, airborne signals, riverbed secrets. Across the history of the world's more restless places, the Earth has often whispered its warnings in gases before the shouts of earthquake or eruption. In June 2025, the air above Colorado grew heavy with an unfamiliar presence, an airborne toxin recorded for the first time by University of Colorado researchers, drifting in faint plumes, richer on some mornings, all but absent by midday, choreographed by hidden changes deep below. Toxins of this sort are not unknown in the world's tectonic or volcanic realms. Such emissions can stem from the intrusion of new magma, the rapid breakdown of deep minerals, or the chemical legacy of ancient sediments agitated by new forces. The fact that this compound had never before been detected in the United States, not in catastrophic amounts, but in unsettling novelty, roused the attention of geologists, chemists, and environmental officials alike. Meanwhile, beneath the Colorado Riverbed, lifeblood of the arid West, a natural corridor linking state and environment, other evidence accumulated. Pressure sensors deep below layers of sediment began to register new patterns, brief, abrupt spikes, sometimes accompanied by short-lived surges of mineral-laden vapor. Such signals in other geological settings have at times served as precursors, at others as background noise. What made Colorado's June event remarkable was the convergence, simultaneous, previously unlinked signals arriving in chorus across land, air, and water. Scientists debated late into the night. Could the airborne toxin be surfacing because a long-sealed chamber of gas had been breached? Could a body of deep, ancient magma still influence new surface chemistry through subtle leakages, inch by inch, breath by breath? Or was the interplay of subtle heat, tremors, and gas simply the result of a never-before-documented dynamism between water and rock, a process as old as the mountains, but only now discoverable by modern tools? Satellite passes added weight to the findings, mapping a corridor of the unfamiliar gas that roughly follows known fault traces and old volcanic pipes, roots that date to a time when fire sculpted these mountains. The telltale chemical fingerprints, measured high above, mirrored anomalies logged deep within the rock by ground-based observers. Everywhere, the Colorado River entered the story. Where its channel carved deepest, the gas was most pronounced. Where it curved across faults, the pressure signals intensified. Environmental agencies took note of small but measurable changes in water composition, certain metals increasing by tiny increments, as if underground stores had been indirectly accessed. Are these signals subtle prequels to larger change? Or are they inherent in the region's long-standing geological restlessness, only now visible? A calendar of catastrophe, the ancient pulse of Colorado's land. In making sense of Earth's mysteries, context is everything. The San Juans, today serene and forested, are the heirs of violent transformation, a legacy written in shattered peaks. mineral veins, and layered ash. Imagine the Miocene, fires forging the summits, rivers redirected, forests buried. The rock of the San Juans is complex, a mixture of granite, ancient volcanic flows, layers built and rebuilt by ancient destruction. Records of collapse and sudden renewal are still visible in the topography, if you know to read the clues. Yet the violence of geologic history feels remote, buried under eons of calm. Still, the region's deeper layers, under the Colorado River, hold unstable seams of rock. They contain stores of metals, gases, and volatile chemicals, sealed off by old faults and the gradual buildup of surface crust. In places, mineral springs have always hinted at this complexity. A peculiar taste here, a tang of sulfur there. Locals have built traditions and stories around these features, seeing in each one a message from beneath. But June 2025 marked a shift. The concurrent appearance of airborne toxins, pressure pulses, and anomalous river chemistry signaled a temporary breach in the centuries-old separation between the world above and the world below. It is as though, after ages resting in relative quiet, the San Juans have rolled over in their sleep. Memory lingers in these valleys, tales of odd-smelling air, vibrant springs, and seasons when rivers ran strangely. But never before, in the era of granular, global monitoring, have so many separate systems tipped into anomaly at once. Are we seeing a foreshadowing of another age of volcanic activity? Or are we only now learning to decode the natural whispers that have always threaded through this land? If geology teaches anything, it is humility, a reminder that the past is only dormant, never gone. Data and dread, the vigil of modern science, unusual vapors and river oddities, once interpreted as omens or portents, are today the domain of scientists, patient, methodical, and watchful. Sensors now keep their own vigil, reading, measuring, transmitting endless signals to labs in Boulder, Denver, and the wider world. Air samples are analyzed down to single molecules. Water is tested minutely, its changes registered as clues. Probes record heat flow deep underground. Seismographs minutely track every quiver along ancient, supposedly sealed faults. Yet even with the best tools, much remains open to judgment. What is the true significance of a new airborne toxin? If its origin is still enigmatic, is it a sign of new volcanic movement, a deep chamber leaking upward, or just a quirk of shifting underground hydrogeology? Teams debate and refine their models. Toxicologists assess risk to human and natural communities. Geologists review historic fault maps, hunting for clues in places where ancient eruptions once cut the land. In June, the governing narrative became one of uncertainty, of vigilance and measured caution rather than panic. But every tremor, every drift in chemical concentration stirs careful concern. Throughout the month, emergency planners met virtually, reviewing disaster preparedness strategies. The region, now accustomed to living with dry rivers and drought, suddenly finds its ancient history bursting into relevance again. For communities, rumor fills the gap left by incomplete information, living atop potentially shifting ground colors' daily life, grounding conversations in both curiosity and concern. The older generations recall, we've seen odd springs and bad water since before anyone kept records. Still, the somber tone of scientific warnings finds its mark. The promise and the burden of modern science is increased awareness. As instruments expose the land's secrets, our sense of security grows ever provisional. The web of rivers and risk, Colorado's place in a changing continent. The San Juans are neither isolated nor self-contained. They are the cradle of the Colorado River, a waterway on which millions depend far downstream. In 2025, this river is already caught between drought and political struggle. Now, shifting subsoil chemistry and pressure only add to its load of uncertainty. What happens beneath the mountains spreads far beyond them. Chemical changes in the Colorado River, no matter how minute, are watched carefully by those downstream. When its waters shift, cities across the arid Southwest pay attention. Every trace of a new toxin, every odd plume visible from orbit, prompts new rounds of scrutiny and preparation from planners entrusted with regional water security. Researchers have begun to theorize about connections. Perhaps a deep pocket of brine, trapped for millennia, is now being squeezed upward by subtle tectonic movements, or an old fracture allowing underground waters and gases to mix in unprecedented ways. Even minor changes in a river this significant can have outsized impacts, affecting fish, farms, and urban supplies as the water flows. Water authorities consider additional testing and contingency filtration. Environmental groups urge caution, warning of unknown impacts on ecosystems. Some early patterns suggest that river and mountain are now moving in closer union, as if, for a time, their destinies run along the same narrative. These cycles, eruption, quiescence, renewal, are now documented across charts and spreadsheets, but at the base remains that old question. When the river's chemistry takes an unexpected turn, is it a reason for alarm, or another page in a very old book that is only now being read in high definition? History's echoes, lessons from ruin and renewal. As Colorado's anomaly takes center stage, echoes from elsewhere offer caution. The geological history of the American West is dense with precedents. Mountain valleys upended by earthquake, rivers clouded overnight by unseen changes, volcanoes emerging after centuries of stillness. A highly active undersea volcano off the Pacific coast, closely watched by experts and threatening to erupt, reminds us that instability is not a local affair. Earth's major changes are seldom neatly confined. What starts in one place can reverberate across continents or hemispheres. In 2025, that interconnectedness of risk hangs over both scientists and communities. The ongoing monitoring of a so-called city-killer asteroid, its small but real risk, a topic of national anxiety, supplies a climate of vigilance similar to Colorado's. It is the nature of the almost, the potential, that shapes the mood. Not panic about clear catastrophe, but the necessity of close watching, of living attentively at the edge of risk. Towns recall their folklore, rivers running clear for decades before turning brown after distant earthquakes, hillsides breaking loose after winters heavy with fog and vapor. History is laced with examples in which anomalies, minor at first, proved to be signals of profound change. In Colorado, there is no conviction yet, only the sense of being at a chapter's opening. The alignment of signals points toward heightened volatility, but the specifics remain unknown. Are we at the threshold of real transformation, or will this moment join the long annals of unresolved Earth mysteries? A culture of vigilance, science, community, and the unknown. By late June, both scientists and communities face a blend of heightened caution and pragmatic resolve. Meetings multiply, public, professional, and behind closed doors. Instrument networks are expanded. School science lessons increasingly cover not only ancient eruptions, but also the living, ongoing anomalies shaping 2025. Town hall debates sharpen. Some demand increased preparedness. History warns us, subtle signs often precede big changes. Others urge restraint. Let's not mistake anomaly for emergency. Let us wait for the facts. Quietly, emergency response plans are again reviewed. Routes, shelters, communication protocols dusted off in readiness, just in case. Rumor moves apace with fact. Parents teach children to be observant near water and springs. Hikers mention unusual smells or odd vapor glimpsed against dusk. On social media, speculation multiplies. Is wildlife behavior shifting? Are birds changing their routes? Is there a new haze on the ridge? The truth is, Colorado's uncertainty is not unique, only sharply illuminated right now. Across the West and the globe, similar edges of risk and uncertainty mark communities set atop quiet lands. Science, preparedness, and local skepticism interweave, a web of vigilance strong enough, perhaps, to weather whatever comes. And still, unseen, the land continues its transformation. Gases rise, water chemistry mutates, mountain and river converse in the cryptic language of geology. The next line, living with unwritten futures. Every evolving story has its limit, a point beyond which the future is both suspenseful and undetermined. In summer, 2025. As the San Juan Mountains keep their secrets, scientists and citizens find themselves living in a state of readiness between what is known and what can only be imagined. Researchers persist, calibrating and analyzing. Monitors in Boulder and Denver flicker with each new data point, a spike here, a pressure shift there, while officials prepare statements, both calming and clear-headed, ready to guide the public through new discoveries. For those in the valleys and mesas, ordinary life continues, but the reality of the land's unpredictability seeps into daily habits. Children learn to observe rivers and weather. Farmers and ranchers note subtleties in water and livestock. Conversations return to the same question. If the signs are real, how do we respond? And who decides what they mean? There is no definitive answer. The future is now a patchwork of measurements, memories, and warnings, an ambiguous story still being drafted. History gives only this, that the land's changes, subtle or sudden, have shaped life here for generations, and that vigilance remains the best preparation. In the end, what guides our response is not fear, but curiosity and resilience. The rivers will flow, and the mountains will wait. Some signs may fade, others will intensify. Residents and scientists alike will keep vigilant watch, reading not only data from monitors, but the land's ongoing quiet conversation. What lesson lies beneath the San Juans? What future, bright, dark, or simply unsettled, is being shaped in the interaction of rock, vapor, and stream beneath the Colorado River's patient bed? Perhaps the answer has not yet emerged. Perhaps it never will, at least not fully. But one truth endures. Beneath what appears most solid, change awaits. Here, among the peaks and valleys of Colorado, the story of the Earth is still in motion. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the mystery of the land is always listening. Its deeper stories, always moving, not yet done.